Hey guys, welcome back to Installation 00, and in today's lore video we brush up on the lore surrounding 343 Guilty Spark, and just what happened to him after Chief destroyed him at the close of Halo 3. After taking 4 blasts from a Spartan laser, Spark screamed out as his carapace exploded, destroying the little blue light bulb. Spark was not completely destroyed, however. In late November 2553, the UNSC detected a transmission from the ruins of Installation 00, and deployed the UNSC Rubicon from Luna to conduct a further investigation. A remote contact team recovered an extremely damaged armature believed by the team to be the source of the signal picked up by the initial investigation group. The device was actually the broken, barely active, tiny remains of 343 Guilty Spark. After properly calibrating their AI translator, the human team began to interrogate Spark, hoping to gain insight into the ancient human-foreigner relations and the didact. Spark, acknowledging the humans as the true reclaimers, and claiming that his duty was to eventually testify to reclaimers when given the opportunity, proceeded to describe the events that led to his former human self becoming a monitor. Over the course of his narrative, he constantly accessed the ship's information stores, breaching the firewalls without effort, much to the ONI team's dismay. As a result of the extensive damage he had sustained, Spark's memory was heavily splintered and barely functional. For example, he was unable to remember many of the preceding events, only learning of his recent interactions with humans after tapping into their records. Spark explained that his mind had fragmented into a number of different identities over time, and the incarnation previously encountered by the UNSC was merely one of his many selves. Large portions of information hidden from him after his assignment to Installation 04 had been restored, allowing him to recount many of the details which had once been suppressed in compartmentalization processes. After Spark had finished his story, his robotic shell finally powered down and was jettisoned into space by the order of the ONI team commander. Before this, however, he had successfully managed to upload his data stream into the ship's computers, disabling its AI curator, and took full control of the vessel. Having come to the conclusion that the Librarian was alive as the result of a long study, and that he needed the ship and its crew, Spark put them to sleep and set course to where he believed the Librarian could be found. Spark first attempted to take the UNSC Rubicon to the shield world known as Etron Harborage to get an upgrade seed to better help prepare the ship for the journey ahead. Unaware that the shield world had been destroyed in 2531 by the UNSC Spirit of Fire. However, there were complications following Spark taking control of the Rubicon, and the ship crashed on planet Uranus A in the Ibycus system. Spark survived by creating an armiger for himself out of parts salvaged by the crew from the Ark, but the crew died in the crash. Spark buried the crew in a mass grave and sent out a distress signal. The recovery of a data drop in 2555 containing the story Spark told the Rubicon crew, as well as the recovery of the Born-Stellar relation on Sarcophagus, made ONI determined to capture and torture Spark for all the information they could get on the Forerunners and the Librarian. In 2557, Spark's distress signal was picked up by a cargo ship and relayed to ONI, but Spark was recovered by a salvage ship Ace of Spades first. Having repaired, combined or jettisoned most of his personality strings while trapped, Spark only retained the personalities of Chakas and 343 Guilty Spark. As a result, he adopted a more cooperative mindset, where he was determined to complete his mission and not be imprisoned again. He would work with the Ace of Spades crew. Spark offered to help the crew recover their stolen salvage if they helped him find the Librarian, which they eventually agreed to. Nico later aided Spark in creating an avatar which enabled him to appear throughout the ship in holographic form rather than to rely on using his armiger to interact in person. After failed attempts to get an upgrade seed from Etron Harborage and revealing the same story to the crew as he did the Rubicon, Spark took the Ace of Spades to the Forerunner planet Trinil, whose population had committed mass suicide during the Forerunner Flood War, rather than let the flood overtake them. Spark was able to get the slip-space flake he needed and created the upgrade seed. Though Spark initially activated the planet's communication satellites, which would draw attention to it, he agreed to Ryan's wishes and shut them down again so that the planet would forever remain lost, an undisturbed tomb of those who had died there. Spark later attempted to access the domain but was denied access by Catalog, though he learned that the Didact had tried the same and also failed. Before disconnecting completely, Catalog told Spark that what he sought was not lost. It was already written, and Spark just had to find it. In order to enact their plan, the Ace of Spades crew reluctantly let Spark upgrade their ship so they could match an Oni prowler when it came for them. As part of the plan, Spark uploaded a splinter of his 343 Guilty Spark persona to a data core that was traded to Oni. However, when the crew came into danger, Spark exposed himself to rescue them. With the Ace of Spades' new upgrades, and with Spark having upheld his end of the deal, the crew took him to Mount Kilimanjaro, where Spark used the fragment of himself in the data core to shut down the Oni base at the portal at Void, and search for information on Catalog's intrusions and the expired Catalog found on the African savannah. Beneath Kilimanjaro, Spark led the crew to a lifeworker pod, before revealing to Ryan what he'd known most of the time they were together. Her father, Sergeant John Forge, had died destroying Etrin Harborage. With the crew surrounded by Fireteam Apollo and an Oni team, Spark deactivated the light bridge for the crew before he entered the hard light beam around the pod and awakened a personality imprint of the Librarian stored within. The Librarian caused Spark to appear as he did when he was Chakas and addressed him by his human name. The Librarian expressed sorrow for the pain she had caused her old friend and told him that Spark was a singular marvel, a being that had adapted and evolved on its own, a product of necessity, but one that may have great impact on things to come. The Librarian briefly told Spark of the awakening of her imprint on Requiem as well as the Didact, but did not elaborate further, though Spark realised from her reaction that the Didact's threat was not worrisome. The Librarian recognised that there were two sides within Spark. One that didn't care and was cold and scheming, while the other cared and was all heart. Spark claimed to have no heart and asked about his friends Ryza and Venivra. The Librarian recognised Spark's desire to bring back his friends and reminded him of his own experience carrying the imprint of Fourth Hencho, Lord of Admirals. The Librarian told Spark that his friends were at peace, their gene song quiet. Spark requested to be sent to the domain, where they were remembered. However, the Librarian cautioned against such a move, and when Spark then asked her to walk amongst the living as he did in an armiger, the Librarian refused, as she felt it was not her time yet. The Librarian helped Spark to see that he had found friends again in the crew of the Ace of Spades, who were in grave danger. The Librarian stated that she would go to join her other personality imprints at the Absolute Record, while humanity had to be given the tools to uphold the mantle and the knowledge to tend to the domain. The Librarian offered Spark a choice, to remain with his friends or to go with her to the Absolute Record. The Librarian gave Spark a small edged box that she called a key for if he chose to remain, and instructed that he find what's missing, fix the path, right what my kind has turned wrong. After the Librarian admitted that the Didact was most likely beyond redemption, Spark announced his decision to stay with the friends that he had waited 100,000 years to find and promised to meet the Librarian again before she departed for the Absolute Record. As she left, the Librarian communicated with Ryan at least, and in her message, the Librarian instructed Ryan to take care of Spark, who is more fragile and important than she could ever know. Upon emerging from the hard light beam, Spark shifted his armiger into combat configuration with a hard light rifle, which Spark used to bring down the roof of the cavern and force the Spartans to retreat. Spark led the crew onto the platform where the Librarian's pod had been, which also acted as a translocation pad and teleported everyone to safety outside, where Spark was able to remote pilot the Ace of Spades to pick them up and cloak them from military detection while pulling his fragment from the ONI systems. A while later, after Ryan woke up, Spark approached her to offer an explanation for his lies regarding John Forge's fate. Spark explained that he could not bear to bring her the pain of the truth, and explained that he had gained much data from the species of the Covenant and humanity during his interactions with them. When Spark came aboard the Ace of Spades, he went through its data, and the name of the UNSC Spirit of Fire had triggered an echo of memory that had taken Spark several days to figure out. Spark revealed that the Spirit of Fire had pre-programmed maintenance sheds and data drops in hopes of leaving a trail, and in those, Serena had left a message for Ryan as part of a promise to her father from the AI and the captain. Spark was then able to provide Ryan with her father's last message. A week later, the crew holds a funeral for John Forge, with Spark singing and using it to let go of his friends. Confronted by Ryan, Spark admitted his desire to access the domain with the Librarian's help to find the ghosts of his friends and bring them back, or join them before everything that had happened changed his mind. Spark would only state that the Librarian had given him a coordinate key to a safe place and volunteered to act as the new shipboard AI for the Ace of Spades, promising that there would be no more lies. After they departed Earth, the crew discussed their options with Geklar's bounty stood on their heads and only after them because of Spark. Ryan decided to continue their mission to find the Spirit of Fire, which Spark expressed confidence that they would find. The crew decided that they would have a wealth of options to choose from after that, and each raised a toast, with Spark's being to friends. Spark's journey has continued long after we thought it came to an end, and being a former ancient human makes Spark one of the oldest beings in existence in the Halo universe, and is suggested by the Librarian at least of being more important than anyone could know, which implies he still has a role to play in how things play out across the galaxy, and I'm very excited to find out. Thanks for watching. Stick your comments down below. I look forward to what you have to say. I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons, Miguel, Brian and Sebastian, the holders of the mantle, Justin and Zach, my Metarchs, and all of the other patrons that have jumped on board to support the channel. If you like Halo lore discussed at insane levels of detail, hit the subscribe button and the little bell icon so you're told the second a new video hits the shelves. If you really love the channel, consider heading over to Patreon and supporting the channel over there. It would mean the world to me and would free up more time for me to put into this content and other Halo related goodness. Take it easy everyone, find peace in the domain.